I'm Jeff Yost, President and CEO of the Nebraska Community Foundation. Tonight, we're shining a light on what makes our hometowns such great places to live, work, play, make music, write a song, start a business, raise a kid, be a kid, have a dream, and belong to. Together, we'll hear moving musical performances and the real-life stories of numerous returners and newcomers that found their way home to Greater Nebraska. If you've spent any time on NCF's website, social media platforms, or read any of our print publications over the last year, you probably recall hearing about The Dream Switch, a touching song cycle about one young Nebraskan's journey home, written by Becky Boson and David Von Kampen. Nebraska Community Foundation was proud to serve as a co-producer of The Dream Switch and our partners at Blix Locally Grown, and help bring live performances and important discussions to communities across the NCF network. But the Dream Switch is much more than a song cycle or a single performance. We see it as a much larger piece of the people attraction puzzle. In places like Nemaha County, Valley County, Thayer County, Nebraska City, and Stewart, the Dream Switch is serving as a connector, a convener, a conversation starter, and an invitation home. Please know that this session is not just for communities presenting the Dream Switch, or for those deeply invested in the arts. Far from it. Tonight's session is for anyone in any community with a dream. Together, we'll explore the ways we can work together to build an optimistic, confident brand for Greater Nebraska. We'll hear about the reasons young people find our hometown so magnetic and begin to think about the ways we can capitalize on those assets. And most importantly, we'll discover exactly how powerful an invitation can be to a young person. Please stick around for a very inspiring live panel discussion with community leaders who have been so creative and innovative in their efforts to engage young people and invite them home. Before we go any further, I'd like to ask all of you to stop your video just for that performance. It will help give us all the best streaming experience. To do that, hover over your menu at the bottom of your Zoom screen and click Stop Video. As soon as the performance is over, we'd love for you to fire up your video again so we can see your faces and connect for our discussion. So now, sit back, relax, and enjoy. All dreams are welcome here.
Look at this place. There's plenty of space to dream, and big. Growing up in Greater Nebraska, I thought I had to leave all of this, go make the life I wanted somewhere else. Turns out, everything I needed to become who I wanted to be was right here. Tonight, you're going to hear some stories from some incredible Nebraskans and selections from The Dream Switch, a story about Nebraska told through song. It all starts with a young person determined to leave. She has big dreams too. Maybe she thinks her dreams are a little too big, but we'll get back to that in a bit. Are you ready? Sit back and buckle up. We're going for a ride.
He's holding my blue suitcase. By the time I reach the door, scattered showers, wilted flowers. I can't stay here anymore. Don't you worry, something whispered as we step into the night. Keep your head up, but for Shadron, darling, darling. But for Shadron, darling, you might be alright. Went to college with one goal to get away. Morning glory in my rear view, with the things I didn't say. What Nebraska? Maybe I've been stuck here out of fright. Like the kid on the corner who can't seem to get it right. When his mother calls, I hear my own, her voice clear in the night. Keep your head up, but for Shadron, darling, darling. But for Shadron, darling, you might be alright. We sink into the bucket seats and fly. I don't ask where we're going, 'cause I hope that he'll decide. My college days have bought the farm, bad news personified. So what, outwore my welcome, and I lost a 4-year ride. I almost drift to sleep, but then I notice blue upholstery, a warm spot that I start to pick until it tears excessively. Leave well enough alone is not a thing that ever stuck with me. He's empty now. I'm empty now. Sidelines bar is right off Highway 9. We order tons of fried stuff and we dash after we dine. His laughter is strong medicine, but still we've crossed the line. I lean against his shoulder and pretend I'm doing fine. Darkness turns to daylight, he pulls off the road and turns to me. I ask him what his deal is, and he says, who did you hope I'd be? He wants to live in Shadron, and he can't change plans so easily. I can't reply. I don't know why. If my future's so important, why can't I see it when it's time to make decisions? Why do I hide if I don't know what comes next? Why can't I say that? I look away hoping he'll stay. We're silent for the Some fall ahead, some stay behind, soon word will get around. He leaves me on my mother's porch and we let each other down.
Leaving college, ending a relationship, no roadmap. Making big changes, making big decisions. The young person in our story has to think about what comes next. What happens if she stays? What happens if she leaves? The thing is, she's not the first young Nebraskan who's felt like she had to make that choice.
So if you would have asked me out of high school if I'd be back here living out at the farm, I would have definitely said no.
I think a lot of times, especially people my age, think it's a bad thing to move home because people are going to look down upon you.
I would have to say it's weird because honestly when I was in high school I was like, small town, not for me, you know.
Sometimes I think my peers don't feel like there are opportunities in rural Nebraska. They feel like they're in the big cities. They want to, climb the corporate ladder or be in charge of their organization or whatnot.
My entire high school career, I was never asked to come home after college. And I never really cared because I wasn't coming home anyway,
5 or 6 years ago when I was in college, if you would have told me that I was going to move back to Bassett, I would have called you crazy. I just would have. There was, I had tailwind and I was just going to be gone.
My family's lived right here for at least 100 years, and staying near the farm has been a thing they want from me. I'm tired of years of morning chores, of summer storms and old barn doors, of staring at the wall and making myself small in a Karenina, wuthering heights, heart of darkness, sense and sensibility, a girl from the sandhills with a pen in her hand and a fire in her belly, the next Mary Shelley. I woke up at 4 and glanced at the door, and the room got so quiet and the porch spinner twirled, and I packed up my suitcase. So long, great expectations. Hello, brave new world.
Well, I'm originally from Loup County. The only town in that county is Taylor. I live on a ranch in the northern part of the county near the Calamus Lake. I grew up there my entire life. We had a cattle ranch and went off to college at Chadron. Enjoyed my time there, had a great mix of academics and athletics. Decided to go to the big city of Omaha, and I got my first teaching job there. And my husband was also teaching and coaching football there.
I had come from a small town. I came from David City, Nebraska. But after school, I decided I wanted to see what the world was like. So I moved up to New York City with my sister.
I didn't think I would be back in the area. I wanted to live in a bigger city. That's something I'd never been able to experience.
I really wanted to be in a bigger area. I was interested in, I love arts and and culture and diversity, and sometimes that can be a problem in rural communities. I was a little concerned about not being able to grow.
If you gave this place a chance, you could make something good. That's what my mother said to me. But running hard and breaking free always sounded better than it should. Always sounded better than it should. My story's pretty typical. No vacancy for a girl like me. Nebraska, where sunsets last forever. What does that mean when you're running toward a dream? And yeah, it's beautiful back there, but I don't really care now. I'm trying to make my way somehow. A new life. We used to drive up Boot Hill, gold skies at dawn, radio on, Nebraska, where you won't find any rat race, just cats out in the barn and haystacks spun like yarn. And I guess it is unique. A stone across the creek now. I skipped one and it disappeared, and so did I. I gaze up at the stars when I was a little girl, and if I squinted my eyes just right, I could pretend on a summer night that I was looking at a city sky, Lincoln or Denver or somewhere close by. I've landed close by. I guess I'll miss the landscape, all hills then flat. I promise that you can drive the whole state without opening your eyes, and the scenery flies. And yeah, these mountains take up space, but I'm not out of place here. I've learned to look toward bigger things. If you ever change your mind, you can always come back home. That's what my mother said to me. The mountain air, it doesn't care, not the way my hometown would. Still, I think I'll make it good.
How good does it feel to be on your own, to choose what you want? The thing is about leaving someplace you love, you miss it. Sometimes you miss it like a person. The excitement of what's new wears off really quickly. Maybe you start to appreciate the things you left behind, like big open spaces where you can dream big dreams.
When I was a kid, I lived for the fair. I got so caught up in all the attractions, big carnival rides and rodeo nights. 1 week in July, familiar distractions. But big tents come down and the earth becomes flat when make-believe places return to a field. I found my own place, the contract is signed, the future is mine without hesitation. meditation. Sleep until noon and do what I like. Build a new life, explore variation. But big dreams fall down and the day feels so flat. And you'd sell your own hand to return to a field. I made my own choice. I hear my mother's voice. Home is a place where special things happen. What sometimes looks empty is space for a dream. Working hard means you build your own future, and walking away is like swimming upstream. When everything I needed to be me was around me. This whole grown-up thing isn't quite what it seems. So overrated.
I missed grass, and I missed trees, and I missed people that smiled at you when you walked down the street.
In urban America, everyone is doing the same thing, and it's overly competitive. But when you come home, you can diversify and be unique and be an actual asset to your community.
When you're in a big city, you can definitely feel like you're lost in a crowd of millions. I wanted to feel like I was a part of something. I wanted to feel like I was involved. I wanted to feel like every day I walked out my door, I was walking into my home, and I had a place that I could call home. In New York, I just felt like I was another person on the subway. I was just another set of dead eyes cruising down the street. But when I came back, I really discovered I can do things, and I can be a part of things, and I can touch people's lives. And you don't necessarily get that in a big town. So that was probably the biggest surprise, was that sense of self-ownership and self-confidence in the difference that I can make. And I think that, as people who return to Nebraska, you can be a difference maker. You can make the world a bigger place in the small town that you're at.
I guess one of the main reasons that we chose Pender was that there was a lot of progressive things happening within the community and a lot of young families moving back. So we knew that the school system was a really solid school system. There's just a lot of people reinvesting in making our main street alive again.
I think one of the best things about living in Red Cloud is knowing practically everyone in the community. There are people here you can lean on for support. It's a place where it's hard to be anonymous. Knowing your neighbors is something that gives me a lot of peace of mind.
The best thing about living in Nebraska City is, just the people. We have great people that live in this community. I think everyone wants to do something good. Everyone's been welcoming to me in this community, and this is one of the reasons I am involved in the variety of boards or committees that I'm in, just wanting to make an impact and make a difference in this community.
One of the best things about living in Eustis is the pride and togetherness that this community has.
The social life here, we always have something to do. We are busy, but we have a certain amount of work-life balance that we didn't have in the city. You just don't feel as busy. You can sit down as a family and have supper together, and you're not running around in 100 different directions.
What I wanted all along was right there where I've lived all my life. And so I think it's really important for adults to invite their youth back home, because if the adults don't ask us home, then who's going to ask us? And so, I don't know, I think we're just waiting for that opportunity to be asked to come home.
I think I've been avoiding the mailbox. It's stuffed full of stuff from the week. I decide to pull out all the junk mail, break my unavoidance streak. A piece of it falls down to the curbside. It's a letter. the earth fell flat. I guess I never told you that, and I forgot the most important thing a mom should say to my only daughter, the dreamer, the schemer, the pain in the neck, the rider, my very own heart. We love you as you are. I know, I probably blew my shot, but I wanna take this chance. Here's what I got. Go on and build your bright new future. Take the time you need to roam, and when you're done, follow the sun. It shines for you back home. If I wasn't clear, we want you here. Signed, Mom.
Just imagine what your spark could add to your hometown and mine. We love you as you are. We want you here. The power of invitation is real, and it matters. Everyone has a gift to share. When we invite people home or invite new people to share what makes them so special, it's like flipping a switch.
I can feel my whole heart awaken. The hardest part is over. I'm dreaming tonight. Stronger than ever. I'm ready and shaken. Twilight desire. better make space, 'cause I'm coming back around. Just a girl with a dream and a fire in her belly. Just a girl with a dream.
You need to invite people back. I think making sure that they know that they're welcome to come back is such a important thing that some people might not even think about, but it's awesome to hear somebody that you've grown up around, that you've seen in the community, that you kind of idolize in a way, come to you and say, we want you back. That has such an impact on a young brain.
When my fiance and I did move back, I was ready to go. I was ready to make things happen in Overton, and I didn't know how to do that. A community member had invited me, and as soon as I had attended one of the first meetings, I was like, this is where I need to be. This is exactly where I need to be.
You know, just living in Bassett, it's all about the people. It really is. It's a sense of community. It's a sense of belonging. Somewhere that I would want to build a family. It's somewhere that I would want my kids to come back to.
Moving to Ogallala or a smaller community, it will make you realize how precious life is, and you can actually enjoy life minute by minute, and you can make a difference because you'll get to know every single person who actually cares about the community, who wants to make a difference in the community, and you can join them.
One of the really exciting things about living in Red Cloud now as a young person is there has been a real steady stream of 20, 30, 40-year-olds coming back to the community, rolling up their sleeves and getting involved in community development work. It's really exciting to be a part of that, and those aren't opportunities that are always afforded to young people in metro areas. You can live in a place for a long time before you have a chance to be in a leadership role. And so I think that's one of the great things about being in Red Cloud.
There's plenty to do in small town Nebraska. You just gotta be out there and be involved. I think probably the biggest fear of young people moving back is there's not going to be anything fun for me to do, but that's definitely not the case.
I truly believe that everything I need to be happy and live successfully is here in Valley County, and I want to make sure that we are showing that to the world, and that especially like students going out, that we're saying go out, take every opportunity that you can to grow, and then really bring that back here.
You won't find a sense of community, you won't find genuine people anywhere else that you find here in these small towns in Nebraska in particular, I would say.
There should be no fear regardless if you're 25 or 75 to move back to small town Nebraska, because if you're willing to be involved, there's no feeling of boredom in these small towns.
It all comes in cycles. You grow up, you start out through your grade school, you work through high school, you get in a mind that you go off to college, and I will guarantee that your roots will always find you to bring you home.
When you move back to a smaller town, you realize that you have to be the ones to roll up your sleeves to make things happen, and it takes everybody kind of being on board to make things move forward. It is such a neat time to live and work in rural Nebraska and get to kind of charter your own course. And I've really enjoyed being a part of all the great things that are happening here in Pender.
This is definitely a town that I've fallen in love with, I've grown up in, so I am always willing to come back and live here for the rest of my life.
We're back live again and so excited to keep welcoming dreams and exploring the power of invitation tonight. The Dream Switch is just one of many NCF tools that's available to your FAC to help engage young adults, build and strengthen relationships, and make space for important conversations. We've already shared part of the journey tonight, but now we're going to have a chance to hear from some amazing Greater Nebraskans who are here live, who have put the Dream Switch into action in their places. I'm going to hand this over to Community Impact Coordinator Christine Gale, who will get the conversation rolling. Christine?
Thanks, Becky. Hello, everyone. We are so happy that you got to experience a taste of the Dream Switch tonight and the many themes and emotions that go with it. We now have this great opportunity to actually hear from some of the communities who have hosted the Dream Switch and who are planning to host the Dream Switch in 2021, as soon as we're able to safely gather again. But I would like to introduce some of our great panel members that we have with us tonight. And like I said, they're all from different communities across the state. So far, a couple of them have actually had the Dream Switch. The others are in the planning process of bringing the Dream Switch to their community, and they're going to share with us their very different experiences. So we have Melanie Flynn, who's representing Valley County this evening. And she's a member of their FAC and the chair of their FAC currently. We have our own Janie Crotty, who is NCF staff and is also a resident of Auburn, who hosted the Dream Switch. Julie Deep is the mayor of Deschler, and she is also a member of their FAC. Clarice Kenner is from Hebron, Nebraska. Dina Beck is also an NCF coordinator, and she works with the Thayer County affiliated funds. And Doug Friedley from Nebraska City. So that's our panel this evening, and I'm going to ask them a few questions so they can share about their experiences. So let's get started and talk with Melanie first. I just would like to ask you about Valley County. They were really an early adopter of the Dream Switch and using it as a tool to unleash goodness. So Melanie, can you tell us, how did you know it would be a good fit for Valley County?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're approached about the opportunity to host the Dream Switch in Valley County, we really just loved the chance that it provided us to have just such an authentic conversation about coming back to home and what is home and invitation. And then also really just loved the connection piece to it. We originally had the 4 pillars of philanthropy, leadership, entrepreneurship, and youth. And then we've added the arts onto that. And then now we're doing a bunch with the ABCD asset mapping. And we just have a great partnership with our Golden Husk and believe that the arts is an opportunity for people to really just come to the table, and it connects multi-generations, and it connects people that maybe wouldn't necessarily hang out together outside of an arts-based event. And so we really just love those pieces of it. And that's when we were approached with that opportunity. We were just so excited to bring that to Valley County.
Great. I know you took a really personal approach to engaging your community with the Dream Switch, and you embarked on a really special letter writing campaign. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Yes. So this was personally my favorite part of the Dream Switch in Valley County. And we identified as many people as we could. I think we had a 2-page list of those that we would want to invite to write letters. And we had a prompt asking them to share their experiences in their journey to Valley County, whether that was a returner or a newcomer, and why they chose to stay there. And we just said, write it to an anonymous high school senior. And then we asked them, to put an invitation in at the end to come home or to explore what it might look like if they were to come back to Valley County. And we were just blown away by, people, but then they just shared to a whole nother level. And so, we were in tears reading some of the notes. I think we have 40 to 50 pages from that letter writing campaign that then we shared with all area seniors at the end of last year. So our 2020 graduating classes. And that was it was so neat to really just see people's hearts. And a lot of them said, well, I've never been asked that question before. I've never been asked to reflect upon that. And so it was quite an experience for them also to be able to articulate why did they choose to come back or to, move here. So that was really neat.
There's so many things we could talk to all these communities about, but thank you for sharing that. I think it's just so cool that Valley County was able to involve older people with younger people through that letter writing campaign. And it's just a great way to express about your community to the young people in a different way. So thanks so much, Melanie, for sharing that. Janie is from Auburn, but she's also, many of you know, works on staff at NCF, but she wore 2 hats last year when they put on the Dream Switch. But Auburn also, in terms of youth engagement, really had some pretty inventive ways of engaging young people. Janie, would you tell us how Auburn engaged young people?
Absolutely. Thank you, Christine. So when we hosted the Dream Switch, it was August of 2019, and we had settled on it being the first day of school. It just so happened to be. So we knew that one of the primary audiences that we wanted to reach was youth, because that, you know, that power of invitation that we've been talking about is so important. We really wanted to get families, you know, every age that we could gather at the square, we wanted to get there. So we were very intentional about recruiting different groups that involved our youth. So we went to, the first thing we did when we decided to do it was go to the PTO, and we went to the school and the High Ability Learners Program, and we went to, you know, the Chamber and the Development Council and Peru State College here in town. You know, we just went to a whole wide variety of groups with the intention of pulling all of them in so that those kids would join them that night, or would go home from school on that first day and say, Mom and Dad, we've got to go to this thing at the park tonight. So it ended up being, and then in the months leading up to it too, Blixt, Becky and Petra were very gracious to host a slam poetry workshop with some of the students here. And that was just this really incredible opportunity for them to share photos of places where they feel most at home and to write about that a little bit. And then they got a Skype with kids in Sweden who had been doing the same activity that day. And it really just kind of drove home that feeling of connection that youth have to their place. So anyhow, the day of our event, we did have a lot of youth show up. And we had lots of fun and exciting ways that they were engaged. We did a spelling bee with kids, and that we used community-focused words. We had the theater students from Peru State College did like a workshop with them, a theater workshop with them. Lots of really cool things. But the thing that I want to talk about that kind of was a catalyst was those high ability learners, that just reaching out to that program created a connection with the school, between school and volunteers, that really hadn't existed before. And since then, the students in that workshop told us several things. Like they told us that the History Museum here had creepy mannequins and it made them uncomfortable. So we started talking about potentially getting them some virtual reality goggles or something like that to kind of do a museum without walls sort of thing. And then that transitioned into a conversation with other people at the school about potentially putting a makerspace lab permanently in the school. And so now we're leveraging resources to do that. So I guess my point is, it created, it was a catalyst for a connection with youth that we are still enjoying to this day, over a year later.
That is a ton of great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great visual. Creepy mannequins are definitely a good visual. But so we know that the Dream Switch is just one tool to unleash goodness that sticks in communities. And I know that Nemaha County has been kind of ebbing and flowing in their activeness in the community, and the FAC was just getting started. So can you share how the Dream Switch brought goodness and unleashed Nemaha County since that event a year ago?
Yeah. So there are lots of ways, and all of those partnerships that I started to list off, very powerful, but I'm going to talk about two specifically. One is one of the things that came up in the post-show conversation the night that we did the Dream Switch was concern over all, and I'm sure a lot of communities can relate to this, concern over all the empty storefronts in our downtown. And we actually have 2 downtowns in Auburn. And so people had voiced concern over the fact that a lot of them were sitting kind of empty. And a lot of people agreed. But what happened after that was people started having intentional conversations about that. And a couple of months later, the Chamber was doing a Christmas opening, and they decided then to use a couple of those empty storefronts to do like pop-up galleries where they had like crafters and people come and set up like booths and sell things. But what's really fun, Ed Chuck noted that lyric earlier that what looks empty is space for a dream. There's another lyric that was imagine what your spark could bring to your hometown and mine. And someone on the FAC actually made a poster of that and put it up at this pop-up gallery that night, because the idea was to get people into this empty space, hoping that people would then start dreaming about how we could use those spaces. And in fact, now there's an adorable clothing boutique there. So if ever you're in Auburn, stop by Touche. And also another store that was same thing. There was a pop-up gallery that night, and there's a coffee shop and art gallery opening there. So it was really just a catalyst for really important conversations about how we're using those. And then the other one that I want to note is after the Dream Switch, we held ours outdoors at around our courthouse square. And so much of the feedback that we got from people was, we loved gathering as a community in that space. It was just so fun to be out together. We should do stuff like that more often. And so after that, we had kind of a Music in the Park series that had sort of been fledgling for several years, but that was kind of the impetus for people revisiting that. And then this year, summer 2020, it was kind of a perfect time to schedule outdoor events. So one of our FAC members started in a Music in the Park series, a summer Music in the Park series that was very, very successful. It was a terrific way to spend the summer. And she also did like a plein air art event where plein air artists were invited to sit out around the community for a week and paint views of the community and historic buildings and things like that. So all of those things were, I can tie a direct link back to the experience and using the arts as a catalyst in that way.
So cool, Janny. Thanks for those great stories. One of the themes of the Dream Switch is telling the story of a returner. And so I'd like to talk to Julie now. You're the mayor of Deschler, Nebraska, and you also serve on the FAC in your community, and there are a lot of returners on your affiliated fund. So I just thought, would you mind sharing briefly your story about how you came back to Deschler and why?
Sure. I knew as a senior in high school that I wanted to start my own business, and knew that in order for me to do that, I would probably have to come back to my hometown, which wasn't a deterrent at all because I love my hometown. So I went away to college and got my cosmetology degree, and I was in Hastings at the time. And after I had got my degree, I stuck around in Hastings and worked for about a year and a half afterwards. And one night I was home in my apartment and my parents called and said, "Hey, we found a great lot on Main Street for sale and we bought it for you and we want you to come home and open up your shop." So I did. I moved home and it was an empty lot, and I had a cousin. My mom had a cousin actually that was an architect, and so I spoke to him and he drew up plans, and sorry about the cat. And we started constructing a beauty shop on Main Street in Deschler, and so that was my home for the next 10 years. So that's how that all started. But to this day, I don't regret moving back home and starting my business here, because I knew what better place to start your own business than in your own hometown where everyone knows who you are.
That's so great, Julie.
Yeah.
And I also want to mention that the simple idea of sharing returner stories is becoming a part of a project in Deschler, with students capturing their parents' returner or newcomer stories on video. And those are going to be shared at the concert. So that's something that they can start working on before the Dream Switch comes, even if we are a little bit in the lockdown still. But I did want to talk to you about that, Julie, that since you have not yet hosted the Dream Switch, you've been planning some activities leading up to it, like the project about returners. And a lot of your ideas are around virtual or social distancing activities leading up to the in-person concert that we're definitely going to be able to have at some point in 2021. But could you tell us a few of the projects that you're working on to lead up to it that are either virtual or not virtual, whatever you'd like to talk about?
Well, we had discussed doing like a scavenger hunt and basically taking photos of either businesses or places in Deshler that are somewhat, I don't know, recognizable, but doing maybe just a close-up photo of a building or maybe part of their name on the building, that sort of thing. And I thought that could be something that all age groups could participate in, that scavenger hunt. And in co-oping with Hebron's community club, we thought maybe we could do both Deshler and Hebron both and combine it that way. And that's something that youth and older and all age groups could participate in, and just kind of familiarize yourself. Do a drive around town or a walk around town and try to pick out what these photos are of different businesses.
I love that. That's great. Well, thanks, Julie. So you mentioned that Deshler and Hebron are both working together. They're both in Thayer County. And we have Carlise here from Hebron. And your FAC is working with the Deshler FAC to collaborate on the Dream Switch project. So how did that idea for collaboration between your two affiliated funds happen?
Well, Christine, we were at the annual celebration last year in York. And, you know, you go into these sessions and you look for people you probably should collaborate more, but I saw the Deshler people. And so we sat together, and after we saw the presentation of the Dream Switch, we kind of looked at each other and we're like, oh, that is so cool. We want to do this. And then I don't know who said it or who suggested it, but we were like, gosh, you know, do you think we could do it together and share the cost? And then, you know, have our kids work together. So have the people come, you know, to either one of the schools and do all the programming together. Deshler and Hebron are about 8 miles apart, and we're in Thayer County. And in order to survive, we're going to have to really work together. And we just feel like this is a great opportunity to do so. And then also to bring, you know, music into the classroom. But I think it took, of course, we were like, well, we'll just have Dina figure it out, how we're going to do this. We'll come up with the idea, and then Dina will do the work on it. So, no, it's a great idea, and it's been fun working with all of you. So.
I think it's very cool, and hopefully it all goes well, and there's lots of other communities who can see a partnership in their future, because I know you are only 8 miles apart, but it seems like up until recently you hadn't been doing a lot of things together. So we're really pleased that Dream Switch might help you do that. But I know that even though you're doing it together, you're doing a lot of different activities leading up to the Dream Switch. So you're not doing all of this exact same things in each of the communities. So can you share with us some of the ideas that Hebron is working on?
Well, that Julie kind of brought up the scavenger hunt, and we thought, like she said, it would be fun for us to get familiar with things in Deshler and things in Hebron. And so that's something we want to do together. Deshler's probably taking a more active role in the pre-game plan, so to speak. We just celebrated our 150th anniversary. And so that was just a year ago. And so a lot of the things that we've talked about are things that we've already done, but we're happy to let, you know, have Deshler maybe, you know, do those activities as well. So we're kind of hoping, you know, we hear a lot about, you know, Jannie mentioned all the positives that happen after the dream switch. So, if that happens, great. But, as everybody has mentioned, that just having the concert and bringing the two communities together, if that's, and the scavenger hunt, and if that's all we do, that's good enough for us. So
that's great. That really just shows that it's different for every community and everyone is approaching it differently. Thanks, Carlise. Now we're going to talk to our own Dina, who is the NCF coordinator for Thayer County. So she works with both Deschler and Hebron. And so I thought it'd be interesting to have you hear from her perspective, how it is working with these two communities and how they're collaborating. So Dina, what would you like to add?
Thank you, Christine. I would say working with these two communities has been delightful. I love that they made the connection at an annual training. And so when you've gotten ready for Dreams Welcome Week and you've gotten multiple email notices about this, it's because we want you to have those kind of experiences and connect with your peers. And I really appreciate that Valley County and Auburn kind of set the stage, and here is this beautiful piece of art. It doesn't have to look the same where your community, where you are and what you want to do. And so I really appreciate that. So there's 4 things I like to make lists. There's 4 things that I'd like to capture about working with Thayer County on the Dream Switch. It was important, I think, as a coordinator to help connect them and then encourage. And frankly, with this group, not only get out of the way, but try to keep up. So Carrie might have a slide for us. So this was a little bit of me trying to keep up. And so you don't need to keep it up there too long, but you can just see it started with the annual fund training. They went to the ABCD arts section. They went to the Dream Switch open table. They did a co-application and then that was probably 5 additional ideas ago. So it's just been really inspiring to work with this group.
Sorry, I couldn't get my unmute button. So Dina, I think it is very inspiring that these two communities are working together. Can you share what it's like looking on the outside with them? Just things like their 3 schools working together and how that's happening and hasn't happened prior to this?
I don't know. I don't think as much as it has with this. And so I think having not only 2 communities, I mean, most of us from small communities. Sometimes you get 2 communities that are 8 miles from each other that are similar sizes. There can be a lot of, well, we're not going to do what Hebron does, or we're not going to do what Deschler does. So I so appreciate these women just getting together and say, let's do this together. And so I think that's something else, I guess I just want to.
That's cool. And Melanie, I know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And then inviting that 3rd school, which is not a public school, to come in and join them. It's just been really inspiring.
And Melanie, along that same lines, I know Valley County, you did reach beyond just Ord, and you invited Arcadia to be involved. Can you just share a little bit about what those 2 communities did together?
Absolutely. So we also invited our St. Mary's. It's our Catholic school, private Catholic school. They're K through 6. And so we actually it was on multi-levels, and Petra and Becky were just instrumental in helping us plan that. But the school teachers, they had kids create different pieces of artwork, whether it be poems or songs. They learned some of the Dream Switch, and St. Mary's, they all drew pictures of where they felt home and belonging. There were so many Pizza Huts. It was so funny. I don't know why in Valley County, but Pizza Hut is where it's at for K through 6. So that was really fun. But, they drew pictures about where they felt belonging. It was Pizza Hut in the football field. And so it was just really fun along those just different lines of each teacher was able to be creative with their students. And then the students were able to have creativity within that. And then we actually we invited everyone to then come to, pizza is comfort food. That must be it. We invited everyone to come to we had a community celebration beforehand. And so we had food and yard games and stuff. And that was so awesome to see kids running around on the courthouse lawn. And then also to the actual event and then community conversation afterwards. And in that community conversation, one of the students, she brought up about how there are times where she hasn't felt belonging and, shared a very personal story about loss. And then there were some of her educators in the room. And so they were able to use that experience. She felt comfortable enough to share in that space. And then they were able to use that to approach her to make connection later. And so that was just the most special outcome that came out of that.
Thanks, Melanie. I know, Dream Switch brings up all sorts of emotions, and hopefully you all felt some of those during our performance at the beginning, but it's good to be able to bring up the uncomfortable ones as well, because obviously not everything is fantastic in every community. So thanks for sharing that. So I'd like to move to Doug in Nebraska City, and Nebraska City is one of the communities that is planning a performance in 2021. But I know, Doug, that you were very strategic about tying the Dream Switch activities into your fund's mission. Would you be able to tell us more about Nebraska City's FAC mission and how it fits in with the Dream Switch?
Yes, the mission for our unrestricted endowment payouts is twofold: investing in people and creating a culture of giving. And when we were in Auburn and saw the very first performance of Dream Switch, I thought, boy, this hits our mission perfectly. What better group of people to invest in than our youth? And also the parents of youth, inviting them home, and teachers and all the people who have worked with youth and understand their special qualities and skills. And so, yeah, it's a perfect fit for our mission.
Thanks, Doug. I know you're also working on a couple of special engagement activities that are going to lead up to the Dream Switch. And some of those ideas came from your NCF hometown intern this summer. And some of those ideas were enthusiastically adopted by your FAC, which is really neat that your Eric, who is your intern, was able to work so closely with your FAC. But could you talk a little bit about some of those ideas that came up and that you're planning to do?
We were so pleased to be able to recruit Eric as an intern. His passion is arts, both music and the stage and theater. So we thought, wow, this is just a perfect person to come and help us organize Dream Switch in Nebraska City in 2020. I think we went through, I think we had it scheduled 3 different dates. And just like everything else in 2020, it kept getting put off and put off. And so we were bummed about that. Eric had so much enthusiasm, but he really focused then on setting the stage. We will have Dream Switch, hopefully in 2021, but we're really focusing now on how do we engage people ahead of the performance. So it really is kind of the culmination of lots of different engagement and conversations throughout the community. One of the ideas Eric had was a poster contest. What does home mean to you? And we're excited to see what some middle schoolers and high schoolers can draw and visualize and portray in a picture of what they consider to be home. Another thing we thought about is we called it a talent contest, a virtual talent contest. Then people were so shy. Then it kind of morphed into skills sharing. So based off of ABCD, asset-based community development, we want our community members to share their skills. What can they teach someone else in the community, and record these virtually and have a library of all these skills that people can go to if they want to know how to make a pumpkin pie, or they want to know how to tie a fly trout fishing or whatever it might be, how to change a tire. I mean, there's lots, everybody has a skill, how to bake bread that they can share with someone regardless of their age, their gender, their economic status in the world. And this is a way that we think we can engage the entire community and show what is special about everyone in Nebraska City and make it a more inviting place. I thought we had a great idea with the scavenger hunt. That's already been mentioned. Also, Erica did an arts inventory around the community, looking at all the different ways that art is already incorporated in the community, but sometimes it's overlooked, the importance of that art. And that's one thing that Becky and Petra have really captured, is how art and how music and poems can really touch people's hearts.
Thanks, Doug. We're excited to see how some of that fleshes out as you continue to plan those activities for the Dream Switch. But thank you, everyone, for this great panel, for sharing tonight. I hope that all of you listening could hear that there are just so many different ways to approach using the Dream Switch in your communities, and that there is no one way to do it, which is a little bit different than some of the other things we teach. We don't have a cookie cutter checklist for you to have to say, this is how you do Dream Switch in your community. The beauty of it is it's very flexible, and it can be used in many ways. And many times it can be used to continue to pursue ideas or issues or themes that you're already working on your community. It can complement those and not add on to it. And so it's just a different way of talking about a lot of the themes that we already talk about welcoming and belonging and returning back to our community, and encouraging people to come back to our communities and make it their home. So if you have any questions about the Dream Switch, any of our staff is available, but hopefully this has maybe shared a little bit more of how the actual Dream Switch can be used. So with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Becky.
It's been so wonderful to be live with everyone here tonight. What an incredible conversation from our panel. Thank you so much for that, for sharing your evening and your experience with us. You know, I have to mention that even though there is some disappointment when things that are live move to virtual, this evening has felt so wonderful and connected. And I think it just sets an amazing stage for Dreams Welcome Week. So I know it will be a very exciting few days that we're all sharing together. I'm going to hand this back to Jeff Yost in just a moment. But before I do, I'm going to, we've been talking about the power of invitation. We'd now like to invite you to start typing some of your biggest community dreams in the chat box. And I encourage you to go big with these dreams. Let's fill it up. Go ahead and start typing those dreams. Let's see if we can keep it going, and I'll turn it back over to Jeff. Jeff?
Thank you, Becky. So please type those in the chat box, and I'm going to kind of wrap us up this evening. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope your Dream Switch has turned up a little brighter than it was 90 minutes ago. We think it's important to point out that tonight's experience was meant to mirror what it's like to bring the Dream Switch to your community. In Act 1, we came together to experience a live performance as a community of people that cares about the future of our places. And Act 2 is the important and deep conversations post-show, a little more vulnerable and authentic because of the experience we just shared. So there's just 3 things before we leave tonight. First, please take a brief survey Carrie is putting in the chat box now, and let us know what you thought of this session. Those evaluations are incredibly helpful to us. 2, visit nebconfound.org/celebrate often this week. Come back for more training and definitely our live stream celebration on Thursday evening. 3, join us tomorrow night, same time, same place for Dreams Welcome, where we will build on what we've learned tonight, have a completely interactive discussion, and build some momentum behind our biggest dreams. Thank you all for being with us. Good night.